Out of all the drivers that we tested for 2022 club test, Cobra's might have been the most impressive. And I don't think, would you guys agree? I mean, I don't think that's a stretch to say. It did something here with this face construction that I don't think I've ever seen with a driver. That carry distance delta between the center strike versus all the other 8 points on the face was crazy tight.
Very tight.
Yeah.
Very tight. Along with dispersion. Don't forget dispersion as well.
Yep. So when I see a driver that's that good for all golfers out there, it makes me wonder, what are you gonna do for an encore? And we have the new Aerojet from Cobra. I'm holding the LS model, which is LS for low spin, with your 2 weights here towards the front that you're gonna be able to go between more of a neutral setup and a fade for the better player. RB, what do you have here?
I've got the standard model. So weight at the back, it's gonna fit the largest group of golfers who are not looking for directional bias for a heel weight or looking for a fade bias. They kind of fit into that middle, as you say, Gene, the bell curve of most players. We also have the max model, and similar to the LS, we actually have 2 weights, but positioned in the heel and the back of the golf club to get that draw bias built in. But beyond just the weights and seeing the segmentation of the drivers for different golfers, you know, Aerojet, Aerodynamics, that's what these things are all about. And they are extremely smooth on the bottom. And there's a lot more roundness to the top as well. So they've really tried to fine tune every element of this when it comes to aerodynamics to get golfers swinging faster, which means getting more ball speed.
Yeah, and that's a great point. You know, there are multiple ways to generate more speed. You know, Cobra has the hot face, highly optimized topography, where they have these areas on the face that where AI helps kind of figure out where are you gonna add a little bit less material, where are you gonna be a little bit thicker, depending on golfers.
And we've got carbon all over these things, which is really important for mass savings. But the key technology in this driver, beyond just the aerodynamics, is something on the inside which we can't see, is Cobra's gone from what they called the power core to the power bridge. And what a bridge sounds like is exactly, you know, there's space underneath it. And there's this mass bar at the front of the driver where it used to be whole. Well, anytime you have material, create rigidity. And what they've done is they've been able to remove that mass from the bottom portion of the club head that's just behind there, and kind of that's where it says power. You have power shell, power bridge, all this.
Well, they added carbon fiber too, this little carbon fiber section, which wasn't there on the previous version.
Exactly. So you've been able to thin out spaces behind the face, and what that allows them to do is it creates flex.
Yeah. All right, Gene. So the previous version, the LTD X, was very consistent, very stable. Are we seeing the same consistency and stability? And if not, where are we seeing the improvements with these drivers?
So what we're seeing is a change, I think, in kind of philosophy or strategy. And what we saw in the testing was all of the Aerojet models lowered spin versus the LTD line. Now, what was interesting is we've talked about some of the other manufacturers launch, we're seeing a lowering of spin almost across the board. So, and let's face it, as we know, the more you lower spin, the more you're chasing distance. Less spin equals more distance. So we're definitely seeing that. The Aerojet Max had the highest launch, and it actually had a medium spin, but its launch was so high that its spin rate would be considered low for its launch, and it had a great distance. The LS had a mid launch and a very low spin. So if you are fighting spin and you get the ball high in the air, that is a club definitely to look at, and you will definitely see an improvement. We are talking 455 RPM less than the LTDX LS, which is the previous year's model.
Wow, that's significant.
That is massive on the 10.5. Now, because of this, like I said, ball speed was faster off the Aerojet and the Aerojet LS compared to last year's models. So it's real simple. If you lower spin, you're going to get a greater transfer of energy in the ball traveling on a vector going down range. So you are definitely going to get more ball speed. The Aerojet Max, as RB was saying, had the tightest range and consistency of all the models. So if you're looking for forgiveness, This club definitely had it. The Max was also the straightest driver of the group. So its gear effect patterns on all 9 points brought the ball pretty much back to center line. So it was a very accurate driver as well.
I think that's really an important thing for people to look at when they are looking at different drivers, is looking at what segment you're trying to fit into. And we talk about this all the time. You have the wrench in your pocket, which allows for the adjustability. All of these drivers offer that with the, well, the standard model has at the back end that you can adjust if you want to fine tune swing weight, but you know, being able to neutralize or create a draw bias driver. So let's say you're a golfer that needs that little bit of extra spin but doesn't need the draw bias. You can create a neutral driver with the Max versus, I always say, like if you're a golfer that maybe you fade the ball a little bit, you're not a slicer of the golf ball, you're coming across it, you're creating a little bit more dynamic loft, you're creating a little bit more spin, but your dispersion's really good. You can kill spin with the LS model, and your dispersion, you're gonna see that tighter dispersion again. And I think that's what's really cool when you have the variance from the 3 different models all the way through the line, is you're fitting golfers that might not necessarily look at those models traditionally, because you could be a scratch player that needs a little bit of spin, the Max could be your ticket. But if you're a higher handicap golfer, and say faster, create more spin, but you don't miss it too much, you kind of miss close to the center, like the center most of the time, that LS gives you that opportunity. But for the better player, they're really dialing it in. And that's the thing, when you're hitting these things on the range and you're going out and testing, you're gonna see the benefits regardless if you're looking at the right driver.
Yeah.
Well, and I think also, to RB's point, and this is really important to anyone watching this, don't be afraid to tinker. You're not gonna break anything. It's just a screw. You can pop it off, put it in a setting, and if you don't like it, you can put it right back in the other setting again. But go ahead and tinker a little bit, and you might find a combination that's really gonna surprise you in the process.
Yeah, and I think overall with these drivers, what golfers want is consistency. You want to be able to miss it and still get similar numbers regardless if you're hitting it on face, but all golfers want more distance. And that's what Cobra's giving you with this. They're giving you similar dispersion, similar consistency, but now you're getting a bit more speed.